I'm Julie Spencer. I'm the author of the Buxton Peak series. This is Buxton Peak Book 1, Who is Ian Taylor? And we are starting at chapter 5 this time. When we left off at the end of chapter 4, they had just decided, Ian and Megan had just decided they were going to Skype. So he is in a motor home traveling somewhere in the United States of America. And she is just heading over to her dorm room. She was at the library and now she's heading over to her dorm room. So chapter 5 is called Good Morning America. We're on our way to New York City. Ian spoke into the little microphone on his computer. Megan was excited to see him on Skype rather than just emailing or texting like they normally did. He was adorable. She couldn't stop smiling into the mini camera. They hadn't seen each other in person in the 2 months since they'd kissed, and it was driving her crazy. "Hi, Megan!" One of his friends popped into the viewer and waved enthusiastically like a goofy kid. Another one of his friends pushed him out of the way and poked his head into the view as well. She was surprised to see how good-looking they both were, almost as nice-looking as Ian. "Hey, you're a lot prettier than Ian says you are. Shut up and go away, Gary." Ian pushed the guy away from the computer. Megan just grinned at them. It was fun to see his friends in the background. She still had only met Ed. "What are you going to be doing in New York City?" Megan said. Megan had always wanted to go there and see a Broadway show or visit the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island, but never had. "We're going to a concert," Ian said. "You ever heard of Buxton Peak? Sold out Madison Square Garden in 15 minutes. "No," she laughed. "I never have." "I hate that band," one of his friends yelled from the back of the motorhome. "Too bad," Ian yelled back to him. "You're coming with me." "Do I have to, Mom?" his friend called back. Megan giggled at their banter. "Yeah, you do, Andy. I need backup." "I thought Ed had your back," Megan teased. "Not at a concert, love," Ian corrected her. "Yeah," one of Megan's friends popped back into the viewer. "At a concert, Ed has your front." "Somebody has to, because I sure can't trust your skinny butt to protect me. Now go away, Kai. I'm talking to my girlfriend." Ian pushed his friend away, but Kai pushed himself back into the viewer and made kissing noises with his mouth. "Are you in love with her?" Kai pushed Ian further out of the way so he was looking directly into the camera. "Hey, Megan, are you in love with Ian?" "Yes, I think I am in love with Ian," she teased him right back. "Say that to his face, then." Kai grabbed Ian and placed him firmly in front of the camera. Things got kind of awkward for a few moments, and Megan cleared her throat and looked him in the eye. "Ian?" Her voice softened, but she spoke with confidence. "I'm in love with you." "I'm in love with you too, Megan." "Cool," she said. "Cool," he replied. Okay, new section. This is Kai and Ian talking to one another. "I don't understand how your girlfriend hasn't figured out yet who you are," Kai said. "It doesn't make any sense to me." "She's focused on her studies." Ian stared at the dark computer screen, envisioning those dancing hazel eyes and the way her long brown hair fell over her shoulders when she leaned forward to see him better through the video camera. He longed to reach out his hand and hold one of those strands of silk between his fingers. "That's no excuse, mate. You need to tell her the truth. You're not being honest with her." "I just want to be loved for who I am on the inside." "Who are you on the inside?" Kai turned Ian's chair so he's looking right into his eyes. "I've known you since we were in grammar school. I've put up with you for longer than I can remember. She doesn't know what she's getting herself into." "Do you know how long it's been since a girl has looked at me the way she does? I'm not sure they ever have. I'm not sure that anyone has ever told me they love me just because I'm me." "That's the point. She doesn't even know you." Kai shook his head. "Let me ask you this. Can you ever stop being Ian Taylor?" Ian could hear the exasperation in Kai's voice. He looked away from his best friend and sighed, not wanting to admit what he knew to be true. He watched the landscape gliding by alongside the motorhome. Inside this bus, with its dark windows and relative anonymity, it was easy to pretend that he could be the man Megan thought he was. But deep in his heart, he knew the truth. Once he stepped out those doors, that man didn't exist. Ian slowly shook his head and looked back at Kai. You are Ian Taylor. You always will be Ian Taylor. And the man you are on the inside is the same man you are on the outside. If you really think about it, pal, you hiding who you are on the outside is actually preventing her from knowing who you are on the inside. I can't win either way. That's a bloody crock and you know it. Ian was shocked at Kai's harsh words. What do you see when you look at that girl? My eternal companion, Ian said. Don't spout your religious crap at me. You know I don't believe any of that. The point I'm trying to make is that you're happy when you're with her, right? Yeah, mate, I am. Then you've already won. Kai sat back and folded his arms with a smirk. But you've got to tell her the truth. I know you keep thinking she's going to figure it out on her own, but apparently she's either daft or has her head stuck in the sand. More like her head is stuck in a book, Ian said. And she's not stupid, trust me. I'm pretty sure she's getting good marks in all of her classes. Well, pull her head out of that book and come clean with her. Figure out a way to tell her the truth. Ian just nodded and looked back out the window. Kai patted him on the shoulder and walked to the back of the motorhome, leaving Ian with his thoughts. That's the end of that section. Now you get to hear things from Rhonda's perspective for a minute. This is fun. Rhonda plopped down on the couch with a bowl of cereal and grabbed the television remote. She flipped for a couple of minutes until she saw a host on Good Morning America interviewing some cute guys, so she stayed there and took a bite of her breakfast. We're all very excited about your new album coming out next month, and we're thrilled that you're going to release your first song by performing it live here in the studio. The perky morning host smiled at the four young men sitting across from her on the sofa. The studio audience erupted in applause, and for several minutes no one was able to speak. The cameras just panned back and forth between the grinning band members to the laughing host to the audience full of screaming girls. We're very excited as well, one of the boys spoke in a British accent that caused the audience to once again launch into deafening applause and screams. Rhonda reached over to turn up the volume. The young man's accent caught her attention. I think I can speak for just about every teenage girl in America when I say that we all look forward to hearing about your first single. That was the perky morning host again. More applause. Well, another one of the guys leaned forward. Sorry to disappoint all of you, but it wasn't written for a teenage girl. Some audience members booed, but the host popped back into the conversation with the interjection that only comes from an expert in her field. Was it written for someone special then? Well, this might be the first time my girlfriend hears it as well. The audience cheered with the excitement of hearing a shared secret for the first time on television. We hadn't even heard you had a girlfriend. The host turned to the audience with a look on her face that clearly asked, Had you heard? I don't think she knows either. He laughed. Now everyone was intrigued, and the cameras panning across the audience showed an excited shock on the faces of the girls. She doesn't exactly know who I am. What do you mean? The host seemed taken aback with this new bit of information and looked down at her cue cards as if she had missed some announcement that should have been written there. Well, we've been in item for about 6 months now, but she hasn't figured out yet who I am. There was an audible gasp from the audience and the host, but the band members just sat back as if it were old news. The young star grinned at the audience with a knowing smile, winked, and said, She only listens to classical music. Recognition rendered Rhonda speechless, and she set her cereal aside, leaning forward to get a better look. Could this really be true? The audience erupted in what seemed a combination of applause, laughter, boos, and cheers. The mixed reaction was infectious, and the guys in the band grinned, clearly enjoying the scandal and the publicity it was likely to bring in its wake. Megan! Rhonda called to her sweet mate. Get in here! The toilet flushed in the bathroom, and Megan yelled that she'd be there in a minute. Well, what if she's watching today? The morning hosts asked. Don't you think she'll recognize you? Oh, I'm looking forward to the day when she finally recognizes me, he responded. I can't wait to sing her love songs and tell her just how special she is. Cameras panning across the audience showed girls quaking with excitement, some crying, some holding on to one another. Well, if she's watching right now, what would you like to tell her? The host invited him to look right into the camera and address his mystery girl. Megan, he began, if you're out there. He was interrupted by the screaming frenzy of girls who now knew the first name of Ian Taylor's recently announced mystery girlfriend. Megan, Ian tried again. I've loved you since the first time I saw you from across the room. The crowd cheered again and Ian grinned. It was obvious this was going to take a while. When the screaming died down, the host invited him to go ahead. I've waited for you my whole life and I want us to be together for eternity. Wait, the host interrupted. Are you asking her to marry you? Sure, why not? Oh. Okay, wait, Rhonda calls out to Megan again. Megan, get in here, Rhonda called. Oh, Ian, the host scolded him. That's not very romantic. Maybe you can do a better job than that. She looked back at the audience and they broke into yet another round of applause, cheering him on. He accepted the chastisement and once again looked into the camera where he cleared his throat and became much more serious. Megan, he bit his lip, took a deep breath and looked up again. I'm sorry this isn't a perfect proposal, and I promise I'll get you a pretty ring and get down on one knee and everything, but would you please do me the honor of becoming my bride? There was a collective sigh from the audience. Even the other band members looked noticeably moved and a little shocked. That was beautiful, Ian, the host whispered, and then looked into the camera. When we come back, we'll hear the latest single from Buxton Peak that was apparently written for Ian's new fiancée. The crowd erupted in applause again as the cameras backed out in preparation for a commercial break. Megan, Rhonda called again. Get in here. You've got to come see this. What? Megan rushed into the room. Are you okay? What's going on? I think you just got engaged on live television. Animation rose in her voice. Huh? Your boyfriend was just on Good Morning America and he proposed to you on live television, Rhonda clarified, practically bouncing on the couch cushions, her cereal forgotten on the side table. You're funny, Megan replied. Sit down. Rhonda stood up and grabbed Megan's hand, dragging her to the sofa. She pushed aside a pile of unmatched socks and an algebra textbook. After the commercial, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll go turn on the computer and see how quickly I can find a replay on YouTube. Megan sat through 2 long minutes of commercial breaks before the show resumed, and the perky morning host reiterated the announcement that the lead singer and songwriter of Buxton Peak, Ian Taylor, had just proposed to his mystery girlfriend Megan on live television, and then turned to introduce their soon-to-be-released new single called Passing Through Eternity. Tears ran down Megan's face as she watched the boy she'd been talking to and texting and emailing for the past 6 months transform before her eyes into a teen idol rock star and began singing the most beautiful rock ballad she'd ever heard. It was true. He was right there in front of her. It was him. How could I not have known? Pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Things about him that hadn't made sense suddenly did. The way he always seemed to have a rather large mate traveling with him. Ed must be his bodyguard, she thought. The way he had always wanted to meet in secluded places away from crowds. He was trying to escape the throngs of screaming girls who likely followed him everywhere he went. The way he was always traveling the world with his best mates, goofing off and missing out on college. He was performing on world tours. He was famous, and not just a little famous. Multiple music award-winning, multi-platinum albums sell out the Madison Square Garden famous. Madison knew nothing about this part of his life. He hadn't shared any of it with her. Jerk. She felt foolish and a little angry with him. But he had just asked her to marry him. Sort of. She hadn't actually seen it or heard him say the words, but it was true. All she had to do was say one little word, and she would officially be engaged to one of the most famous guys in the world. Megan pulled her cell phone from her pocket, typed a quick text, and hit send before he had even finished the last notes of his song. Her text said, maybe. And that is the end of chapter 5. The next chapter is 6, and it's called Mates and Roommates. Okay, so I'll see you at the beginning of chapter 6.